or good evening, wherever you are located. Um, Today, we're going to review the information of Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 of the book. I don't know also if you had the opportunity to access the class. I posted some information already for next week. I'm going to finish this afternoon adding the rest of the assignments and posting the information of the 3, 4 cases that we need to review. And I will be providing the information of when the presentations will be done. But of course, I'll be sending you an email as well with all that information. So you have a written copy, written reminder of all of that. If you are accessing Teams, you notice that the weekly meetings that we have, they're already posted in the calendar with the link and everything. So that is the calendar that I use to always send a reminder the day of the meeting. But all those meetings are already preset for the time of the class until April, and it has already all the links and everything. So if you review your calendar, you should see that information as well. So without further ado, we're basically going to start the presentation right now. So chapter 3 talks about what it is, management strategies and performance. And the objectives of the chapter 3 basically is to go in detail about strategy management and plans that we do to either make changes in the organization, move employees around, even strategies that help you for finances purposes, revenue increase, modification, and sometimes even layoffs. So it gives a sample of everything that is the strategies, how they can be developed, and it gives you all the ideas of the metrics. So it helps you basically to develop the strategy, but at the same time, uh, to help you track it, to see if throughout the process the system is working or if it needs modifications, for example. So when we talk about strategies, basically there is 7 key points that they try to cover in the strategy process. But the strategy process depends on the plannings of the organization. It always starts from above, and it doesn't have to affect an entire department. It could be, or an entire company. It could be just a small area that the organization is planning to make changes, for example. But regardless of that situation, even if it is a small department or a small area or the entire company, the idea is that whatever is decided to do will affect the entire company. So the company has to make sure that good goals are set and establish the decision that whatever changes are going to happen in one department, basically it does not affect the functioning, the operating process, the daily operating process of the other departments. Sometimes when they do changes to strategic changes to a department, modification, planning, transferring employees, whether the company likes it or not, other departments get affected. So if that is the case, sometimes the strategic plan has to be expanded to involve some other departments. So once one changes, the other one most likely will have to be modified as well.
Excuse
So
me, ma'am.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I cannot see the presentation. Have you shared that?
You're not seeing the presentation? Oh, I'm glad you told me that. Hold on one second. You see. why you're not seeing the presentation. Let me see if I can do it in some other way and run it through the desktop, maybe like that. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me see if, can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
My computer screen?
No,
Hold
not
on.
yet.
Let me, so instead of uploading it to Teams, I'm going to, can you see that screen?
I can see your
Yes, the computer screen.
no,
Yes,
not
yes,
the
we can see
computer
it.
screen.
No?
Your computer screen, I can see it.
Yes, that's what
Yes.
I'm trying to see, because I'm gonna open the presentation then directly from the screen.
Yes.
Can you see the presentation now?
Yes, yes, I can see it. Human
Okay.
resources
Well,
management,
it's
right?
not
Yeah.
here for me yet. Is there any option that I have to go through?
No, all you need, automatically, I'm sharing the screen with everybody. Do you think that maybe you have the camera with the window closed so you cannot see? Or see if it is the some settings in your camera? You should see the main screen that has the cover page of the book and say chapter 3, Human Resources Management.
Well, I'm not seeing it, but okay, maybe it will come later.
Um,
Let me continue.
if you go to the, hold on 1 second. Let me do all of this again then to see maybe I can help you with that. Can you see it now?
There comes a split screen, but it's dark, like nothing comes. The screen is
I think
split.
there's something
Yeah,
wrong
I
with
can see
your
it now. I can see
settings.
it now.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
can see it now.
You can see it now? Okay.
And
So I actually was on a
yes,
slide
thank
number
you.
2. So we're just gonna start really quick. What I was saying at the
And
beginning is that chapter 3 covers everything that is management strategy and performance. What I was
have we
talking
started?
about.
Sorry,
Yes,
ma'am. Have we studied chapter 1 and 2?
excuse me.
Have we studied the chapter 1 and 2?
We're reviewing
Chapter 1
right
and
now chapter 3 and 4.
what I mean is, have we studied chapter 1 and chapter 2?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it, was it in the previous class?
Last week we reviewed chapter 1 and chapter 2, and the copy of the
Okay.
presentation is in the class. On when you go to the class and you go to week number 2, I placed a copy of the presentation there for everybody. And then last
Okay,
week presentation was sent to everybody via email.
thanks.
Okay, so this basically today what we're doing is reviewing chapter 3 and chapter 4. Like I was mentioning to you, chapter 3, it talks about everything that is a strategic and performance. And basically, it explains to you the information of how a strategy can affect one department or it has to provide modification to an entire area. Strategic, let me go back to where I was before, which is here. The idea of a strategic planning it starts basically from the top of the organization. They actually, the president or directors, they are the one that see that some departments have to be changed or modified depending on their goals. Maybe let's say, for example, as a company that works a lot in sales and they're seeing that one department is not producing as much, so they can develop a strategic plan to try to modify the services of that department, or move employees around, or retrain employees to help. What I was mentioning is that sometimes, even though the companies decide to make a strategic plan just to modify certain area, sometimes, whether they like it or not, some other areas get affected. So sometimes it has to trickle down and do the main changes in one department, but then some basic modification to some other areas. But there are things that employers will not know if the strategic plan for one specific area will work, until they start basically making all the changes. The advantage of a strategic planning is basically the trial and error. You create a strategic plan, divided it by sections, and then little by little you start seeing if the plan is working or if you have to do additional modifications. So in this case, for clarification purposes, what we mean by a strategic planning is the overall plan of internal strengths and weaknesses. So that's what I was using the companies, the sales, as an example. For example, they see that a department is not selling that much, or they create, for example, goals. The idea is that each department sells, for example, $10,000 in products a week. So when they see that the majority of the departments are reaching the sale goal and some of them are not, then they can go and see, okay, what are the internal strengths and weaknesses of the employees that we have there that they need retaining, that the reason why all the other departments are selling $10,000 a week and this department is not. So the strategic management process, this is very, very important steps, because what I was mentioning at the beginning, there are 7 steps that any manager has to consider when they want to develop a strategic project in the department, either in a small area or a large scale. That is basically the most important thing. Of course, they know it by heart, but just to have a clear sense is about the definition of the business, what we do, for example, what we're selling, who are our customers, what is our goal. So they have to have clear idea of what they want that strategic process to be developed. Is also, in order to do it, they need to go through an audit process, like I was using as an example. Why this department is meeting the sale goals, why this department is not, why this department is working, what are they doing right, and maybe how we can copy the process from department A to department B, for example. So that helps them in the internal and external audit as well, because, for example, it could be the market. If they're divided by teams, and maybe one team works with one zone and the other team works with another zone, maybe the customers, they have to be aware of the customers that they have. So once they have all of this clear, so all of this objectives clear, they go into the process that is the formulating the new directions, how we can develop, how we can transform, or what we can copy from other departments into these other departments to make it work. And basically, of course, the step 4 is always having in mind the mission and the vision of the company. They cannot deviate from that, because if they go too much to one end of the process or another one, they could lose customers, because the customers are already used to certain services or used to certain employees. They have created a rapport with certain employees up to certain level of friendship. So sometimes when you change like sales representatives or assign a company to work with somebody else, the company are not really happy about it, because they already used to working with certain employees or certain teams. So that is something that it's a very crucial for the company to be careful with that. Then basically The step number 5 is determining why they're doing the strategy, why they're doing the strategic goal in the same play in the same purpose. So basically it's about the achievements. We are doing this because it's not working, because you see what I mean? So they go through a list of series of orders. The reason 1, reason 2, reason 4, reason 5, whatever it is. So they always have to have clear idea of what they're doing this. And actually sometimes they can do what is called um, a development of issues, like for example, creating a pair of review. So this is not working. What is the specific solution for that? So if they have 5 things that are not working, they can create 5 different solutions, but it's not 5 different solutions like alternative A, B, C, D, plan A, B, C. No, each one problem, this is the solution what for problem 1. Problem 2, this is the solution for problem 2, and so on. Because sometimes there are different problems, there are different ways of solving it, and unfortunately they cannot get like one size fits all. This is what we're going to do, because it's one thing if you're dealing with a problem, for example, of training employees, then one problem with a lack of customers, then one problem with lack of budget or something like that. So even though it's one strategic process, basically we'll have subdivisions of ideas that help to resolve each of the problems that they have. So once they have all of that, they go into the 6th stage, which is the implementation of the strategy, seeing if each solution that they're recommending for each of the programs work. And then they give themselves, they go into a step number 5, which is kind of like basically a trial and error. They're going to say, okay, this is what we're going to change. We're going to give ourselves a week. At the end of the week, we go, we assess the situation, we go back and look at it and determine if it works or if it doesn't work, or if we have to do something else, or create some other type of solution that it helps with the situation that they have. So now we're go basically in the type of strategies, because it's important for you to know about what it is, the corporation, competences, and functions. Um, Everything that is the corporation is everything that is physical. What is wrong with the company? We don't have the right equipment, we don't have the right computer. We need to do a contract with the phone company that give us a good rate to call international, because we're growing and we have international customers now. Something with the corporation as well that goes into um, resources as well. What do we need to do? Do we need more employees? Do we need more managers and things like that? The competences strategies is everything that related with the employee per se, and is more connected with training. What do the employees know? How we can train them? Do we need to buy? So, for example, corporation goes and say, I need to buy a new software. So then that is in point number 1. Point number 2 is the competency is we need to train the employees to learn how to use that new software, that new system that you're going to use. And then the functionality is the evaluation, determining if actually everything that you did it work and the software works. That's why sometimes a lot of companies nowadays, they do reviews of 3 different systems. For example, they do trial and errors, they test in all of them for a while, they actually get feedback from the employees, and they try that, accept those feedbacks and those recommendations from the employees to determine which software is the best one and which one meets their recommendations, that meet the company needs and what the employees are recommending. So in order to do that, it is important to create what we call a business portfolio, because this helps the company to know how far they can go. What they mean by business portfolio, which is different than a sale portfolio, for example, is more creating a series of information that help the company to determine which way they need to go. So they do everything, that is, they concentrate themselves in what they actually need to change. The diversification aspect is what are we doing wrong, how we can modify it. What they call by vertical integration is basically seeing if the changes that they're doing affect some other departments. So they go across the board and say, okay, so in the long run, this strategic plan is not only for Department A, but it has to be also for Department B and C. So that's the vertical integration. If they have to incorporate some other departments and some other employees from other area. The consolidation talks about if by doing the strategic plan, we are consolidating duties and responsibilities, or we're actually transforming them. So an employee that used to do A, Y, and C, now we're telling the employee, okay, you need to do this other thing or this other thing, because this software is going to help us to do whatever. So sometimes certain applications, certain changes that we do eliminates some of the duties that the employees have to do. So for example, I'm going to give you a basic example for you to understand. Like before, a lot of companies used to have fax machines and copy machines. And a lot of companies had an employee that were in charge of the paper, maintaining the equipment, making sure that the files were received, that everything was in order, that the information was clear. If the company does a contract with Adobe, that now you can do everything online. You don't have to fax because you can send information online. You don't have to make copies because Adobe can convert whatever documents into PDF, into forms, into whatever. So that person that you had with those specific your duties, responsibilities of maintaining the equipment, maintaining the file machine, maintaining the printer, then that person doesn't have to do that anymore. So you go into what is called the consolidation of duties, and then you say, okay, now I have this employee here that was doing these duties that I don't need anymore. And then part of the strategic plan is, if we're eliminating this responsibility, that means that we are eliminating the employee, we're letting the employee go, or we can consolidate the duties, transfer the employee to other department, did some type of training, and offer them something else. So that's why you go into diversification and consolidation. And that's what I was talking in the last point of geographic of expansion, that then you know into how the change of the strategic plan is going to affect the corporation, either one department or two or three departments. The purpose of the strategic plan is basically to determine how the company is going to function in the long term and in the short term. How these changes will. So we're going to like now and future. This plan, how is going to affect us right now in the company, financially, with employee, with training, how long this new change is going to take place. And in the long term is because you need to project that the changes that you're doing are beneficial in the long run for the company. So that is when you go into considering things like cost leadership, differentiation, and focus. And the reason is because when you are planning on a strategic plan, you need to see what it means by cost of leadership is that if your managers, for example, are getting also affected by these changes that you have to implement, and you are giving the manager more duties. for example, that means that you have to go into a human resources job description evaluation, like re-evaluation and assigning, basically creating a new job description. So that brings along additional costs, because that means that you need to consider maybe a different salary for that person. And then from managers all the way down, it is also the same thing. A strategic plan sometimes shapes employee roles and responsibilities. Employees have to go through a review or a job description. You have to present the new job description to the employee and make sure that the employee signs it and is aware with the changes. And then, of course, all of that, it brings cost to the company. We're changing the duties and the employee is going to be happy with the same salary that the employee has, or we have to give a salary increase to the employee. So all those aspects, all those things is what the company has to be focused on even before they start running and making the changes and everything, because those additional costs, they need to have them in consideration. If they don't have the budget, then maybe the strategic plan has to be done in a smaller scale, maybe area by area, or a small group of departments at the time or employees at the time, so they can, it will be longer, it will take them longer to transform, but in the long run they might be able to save some money if they don't have the budget. So part of the functions of the strategy is that all the departments are on board with the strategic plan, that all the employees are aware that the changes are going to take place. They agree with the changes, they support the changes, because when we find employees that are reluctant to transform, to retrain, to learn something new, for administrations and managers, it makes them very, very difficult. So part of the strategic planning is selling that new idea to the employees. So always telling the employees, this change is good because of, and then you give some of the reason why. And you tell them information about the opportunity of salary increase, or the opportunity of learning something new that maybe they can be assigned to a better position later on. So part of the strategic project is be aware of how we're going to sell that idea to the employees, the way that the employees are motivated to this and support the transformation, because if no, it's not going to work. uh, do you have any questions so far, or do you want me to continue a little bit more? Okay, so no questions so far, I guess. So we go into the third objective, which is the examples, and this is related to what we're talking about, that is the course, the human resources. The human resources department has to be very involved in what is the strategic planning changes for what I have been mentioning to you guys. The review of the job description, maybe creation of new job descriptions like titles, maybe analysis of the new duties that employees have to do to determine if a salary increase is required or not. Because what the companies do not cannot afford in any way whatsoever is that during the transition project, the employees believe that it is not beneficial for them to change or that new job or that new responsibility, an employee leaves. Because then the strategic project that you're planning to do, the transformation that you're hoping um, to have your company in order to evolve, let's say it that way, then basically you haven't even completed and had already collapsed. Because if the employees are leaving, the employees are not accepting the new descriptions, or the employees are not accepting the new salary, the first thing that happens is that people leave. So it is important to have all that in action. This, when it talks about hotel in Paris, is something that I left here just to, this is one of the cases that we'll be reviewing, and it is very connected to what we are considering now in transformational changes. So I just left the title there for you to get an idea. By tomorrow, when you access the class, you will be able to see all the information of the cases with the additional assignments of the rest of the term. So I left that as a reminder. What is the strategic of human resources management? What is the main purpose? So in this case, for example, human resources management, the director of human resources, it is responsible for everything that is creating all the new policies, practices, procedures, reviews of job description, assignation of new salaries, everything. That's how the director of human resources report. So the human resources manager will not get involved into what is the main aspect of the strategic plan. Know why are you doing it, know why the president of the company or the managers think that is necessary. No, the role is for them to basically provide the administrator with the support that when the strategic plan is presented to the employees are satisfied, the employees agree, and the employees are supporting the idea. That goes into what is called sustainability, that is connected to what I was mentioning to you, that if the employees are not happy, if they give a copy of the description to the employee, you might face the fact that when you're telling the employee you need to sign this job description because it has to be documented in your employee file, the employee does not want to sign it, for example. So the purpose of the director of human resources or the department of human of management in this case is to make sure to create plan A, plan B, plan C. What about if the employee is not happy with the core description? What about if the employee doesn't want to sign? What about if the employee doesn't want that salary? So because they have to always think in the legal action, that means that we're going to have to let that employee go. What are we going to do? Do you think that maybe the employee will leave and will turn around and file a lawsuit for discrimination or whatever it is? So all of those aspects have to be considered by human resources to make sure that they avoid that part of the process of a strategy planning at all times. So, for example, one of the responsibilities is talking about what they talk here about the scorecards and the matrix, so human resources. That is for them to keep records of everything and provide the necessary analysis review as a human resources to see if the strategic plan is going to work, if it is going to be rejected, if they project that the employees will not accept it or support it, if they project that the salary that they're offering to the employees, like the salary increase, is not good enough. All of those things are important for human resources to track. And they use different tools in order to do it, because this ahead of time has to be always presented to the president of the company, so way before they start mentioning about changes, that they know that financially can afford it, and that they know that as a human base, that means employees, how much the employees are going to affect it. So they'll be able to see how are we doing it, how are we planning to do it, how is it going to take place, how is it going to be implemented, how we're going to present it to the employees, and so forth. So this is an example of matrix regarding the consideration. This is what I was mentioning to you about human capital. They are concerned about that. How they going to take the change? How is this going to be affected? Are they willing to accept the income that this means that is going to affect the corporation? Do we need to change some policies? So all of that helps the human resources to determine what it's the comparison of the strategic plan in a corporation base in comparison what it is human capital base. So for them to see if it works, if in the long run it's going to work, what policies they need to change, what are the expectations of the company. Is one thing what the president expect. The president of the company can say, if we make this change, we will have a revenue of an increased revenue of $1 million, for example. But then the responsibility of the human resources is no, wait a minute, it's no 1.5 million or 1 million or whatever, because then you have to think in the salary increases, the employees that maybe will not accept it and leave, expenses of marketing, expenses of rehiring, expenses of training. So what the president might think that it is going to be the main revenue of the company, it is basically never like that. Never like that. So it is important for the director of human resources to know all of that and say, this is your imputation of new earnings, but this is how much the strategic plan is going to cost in towards what is human capital, training, targets, bonuses. Are we going to offer bonuses to the employees in this new role? All of that. How much is a good bonus to be? If it's okay offering them $200, $500, $1,000. There are companies that they offer bonuses once a year, certain percentage according to the revenue that according to the earnings that the company had during the entire year. But then the company say, can we afford that? Can we not afford that? So those are things that are the responsibility of the director of human resources to measure all of that. This part of the matrix for profitability organization, this that you can see right here, for example, when they go on the bonuses and performance and tuition reimbursement and things like that, is that if the strategic plan requires, for example, additional resources, those are things that you cannot, especially for a company that didn't have it. If you don't have tuition reimbursement and you're doing a major transformation in the company, these are things that you can add to create a basically retention. If you didn't have tuition reimbursement before, you can tell the employee, hey, this role is going to require you for you to do something else. Maybe we will not be able to offer it to you. Maybe you have to go to a university, but if you go to a university, we will cover, for example, 80% of your tuition. So that is a motivation for the employee to say, okay, I'll take the position, I go to the university, I'll take the class, or I do this training, or whatever might be the case. So all of those matrix, all of those analysis and everything, it helps to contribute with the company with the strategic plan. Basically, the bottom line to determine if they're gonna make it or not. Wait, and all of this that I'm talking about, excuse me, that's the reason what I mentioned at the beginning, that the strategic plan is from the top to the bottom. All of this that we have mentioned so far is without even talking to the employee that something, that a change is coming up. This is all part of the planning. The idea is that when they present the information to the employees, they already have everything ready. Information of need, change of job description, salary increases, everything that I just showed you before, offer of bonuses, offers of training, offer of flexibilities, all of that, way even before the company says, okay, we are ready to start with the change, with the modification, with everything. So that is a part of what we see here. That is the data analysis, the big, big, big data, the everything that they know, that all this information that they accumulated will help them to do the strategic changes in the company or not. So I wanted to ask you, by any chance, in any of your places that you have worked before, you have gone through any of these changes like that, like complete restructuring of the company, assignation of new departments, new duties, new job description? What was your experience? were you happy about it? Did you move and left the company because you were not happy with the direction the company was going with these changes? Anybody want to share any information about this? Okay, so then let's continue then. We're going into the part of what is the trends and issues of making changes this drastic in a company and determining the talent. This goes into what it is connected to employees. This is basically related to if the employee states of not, if part of the strategic planning required hiring new people or letting go of people. So this goes into what is called, and I put additional information here, and I put, this is something that I did. Um, this wasn't officially in the presentation of the book, but I added this information because I believe that is very important for you to know clearly what evidence-based human resources is. And I put the reference here. If you want, when you access the presentation, you can go into this link and read a little bit more about it. So they're talking here about evidence-based human resources and the scientific way of doing things. So everything that the company does, they do it for a purpose, but they do it for a purpose not because the president walk out today and say, today I'm gonna make this change. No, all this data, all this analysis, all these numbers, all those projections are the ones that force the company to transform, if that is the case. So, what we mean by evidence based is the practice of making decisions, but is supported by evidence. Give me the proof that we are not making money. Give me the proof that this department is not working. Give me the proof that this department is selling $5,000 instead of 10. All of those numbers, all that data, all that information is basically what it helps the company to make a wise, not a wise decision, because unfortunately, sometimes they made a decision and it's not the correct one, but hoping that is the best decision based on the data that they have collected and based on the numbers that they have. So that's what, for example, to consider evidence based, it will be reviewing all the internal data, reviewing information about what other companies do and what they have done or what they have not done or what changes or how we work. There is strategic planning that companies implement, and there's such a disaster that companies basically in the long run end out of business, and they basically have to close their doors because they didn't consider the reaction of the employees, or they didn't consider the clients, or in general neither the employees or the clients were happy with all the changes. And basically what we have to do is always remember that we live in a life of competition. Regardless of what we sell, for example, it might be 20 companies out there that will sell the same thing. So then we go again into what I was talking about, human capital, how the employees are going to feel about this and how the clients are going to be about this. So this empirical data, all these research findings, in addition to our company, is comparing ourselves with our competition. What does the competition do? What they have done? Did they did this change? How do they did it? Remember that there is a lot of information that is announced in the corporate websites, and you see the changes. They put information of policies or offers of new services or things like that. So even though they're not directly telling the competition we are changing, when you access their website and you see what they're offering, what they're advertising, how they advertising, and how they're promoting the product, all of that gives you an idea of where the company is going. And then you say, okay, what can we use from this? What kind of information we can apply to ours? So all of that gives you this list of values and concerns that you say, well, this work for this company, but it will not work for ours. We have to do this some other way. So it's not that we are in academia, we can consider that, like, for example, oh my God, that's plagiarism. I'm copying information from somebody else and I shouldn't do that. No, it's not that it's going to that extreme of like corporate crime or stealing information or anything like that. Is that the best way for you to make a decision as a work is to compare it with somebody else to see if it works, how the companies are doing. Then you go and analysis into the company and you see, oh, wait a minute, this company has a revenue of $1 billion. I am only at 1 million. So this person has the money, this company has the money to afford to do all of this. The retraining, the transformation, the expansion, and all of that. We don't. So if we don't take that information into account, we don't review it, we don't consider that, then basically we're not creating a realistic a strategic plan that it is going to work for our company. We It's good to set goals, but we cannot set goals too way high that they're actually going to be a failure, either because you don't have the skills or you don't have the people or you don't have the budget or you don't have the resources. So it's always important to see what the competition is doing, because it helps you to set out some more realistic goals, some more realistic plans, and it helps you to determine if what you need to do, you can do it in a week or in 2 weeks or in 6 months or in 9 months, or if it's going to take an entire year to do it because you don't have the money and you don't have the resources and you don't have the people. So, in consideration with what is human resources, all involved in all of this, in the evaluation and change and creation of new things or transformation, it is important for human resources to have a specific duties of policies, practices, procedures, and all of that. Because when we're making all these changes, a lot of the policies might change. Let's say, for example, our goal of an strategic plan is to go from a regional company. That means the companies that provide services to like the neighbors and people that live in a certain area, 30 minutes from you, 40 minutes from you, or whatever you measure your clientele by miles or kilometers. We provide all a city. We provide service to all the city. And let's say you are trying to transform and expand and provide services to other cities, or you are considering going from your country or your city or your location to an international based clientele. So all of that is what you need to know in order to improve the human capital of the corporation. Especially, for example, you go as far that you say, okay, if I go national or if I go worldwide, that means that I have to be open more hours. That means that I have to have different work schedules. That means that I might need even different salaries. So you pay $1 more or $2 more, as an example, for somebody that works at night. Or if you're going to open on Saturdays, then you say, okay, how I can establish a work schedule that employees will be okay once in a while to work on a Saturday. So all of that is what basically engage the employee in the change, with the performance, with the support of the manager, and they are committed to the change and they say, yes, I can do it. So this is something, I don't know if you are familiar with a corporation called Gallup. Gallup is a worldwide corporation. I really not sure where they're based. I know they have offices like in the United States and Europe. Sometimes they do regional services. But Gallup is basically the main purpose of the company is statistics. whatever you want to find out, this company will do it for you. They will develop a survey that you can measure employee performance, employee happiness, employee information about salaries. If the employees are happy with their salaries, happy with anything that you think that you can measure in a company, this company will do it. They will develop the surveys. They will basically distribute the surveys. They will collect the data and they will provide at the end the findings. So basically, they say that around 30% of employees, if you get a result from the corporation that is 30% of employees were engaged, 50% were not engaged, or 20% were disagreeable, then basically with percentages like this, it is very, very difficult that your company is going to succeed in whatever the strategic plan that you need, because the percentages have to be uh, in the negative aspect. For example, where they say 30% were engaged, that number has to be really, really high. And then the disengaged percentages have to be very low. So ideally, especially the ones in the middle that are 50%, that would let you know that whatever changes you're gonna do, they're not gonna work, because you have 50% of your employees saying, I don't want to change and I don't agree with your changes and I'm not going to support your changes. And basically is because of the two percentages, the 50% and the 20%, they're very, very high in this case. So the companies, that alone will tell the employee that whatever change they want to do is not going to work. So those percentages are kind of an example of an analysis, or you can obtain information and determine way ahead of time if what you're planning to do is going to work or not. If you still believe that that change that you're considering to do it, you have to do it, then basically what those percentages would tell you is you have to start again from scratch and create some type of different approach, some type of modification of how you want to present that to the employees, because the way you're thinking of doing it is not going to work. So it is important to do all that. So ahead of time, in before you invest $500,000 on doing all of that, then you know if it's going to work or not. So that basically gives you the information that ensures the employer, what I was talking about, that the employee supports, that the employees agrees, that the employee understands the reason why you are changing, that they accept the goals, that they accept the challenge, and that they're looking, actually sometimes even looking forward for the challenge, for example. Um, so that's we go with this part that we're talking right here in managers, which we have not touched a little bit about it. That is the role that managers have to play when you are making changes to the company. The first ones that have to believe in the changes are the managers. So their responsibility of the president and the board or whatever, when they go that route, they have to make sure that all managers are on board and that all managers understand of the change and that all managers support. Why? Because they have their own teams. They're gonna go and turn around and talk to their teams. They're going to present the information to the team, so they have to sell the idea. So how do you sell an idea that you don't believe in it? That immediately your employees are going to know and are going to realize that you're just there talking to them about this idea because as a manager you have to, but it's not that deep in your heart you believe that is the best approach or the way process to go. So it is very, very important that management agree with the changes, understand the reason why they're doing it, because if no, it is not going to work at all. And regarding what they talk here about the engagement guide for managers, the board of trustees, for example, of the president can provide what is called like a checklist. A lot of managers don't know. Like, for example, if I'm manager of the customer service department, I don't know what sales does, and I don't know what the manager of the sales departments is going through. And the same thing with the manager of human resources and the manager of whatever other departments. So this engagement guide is that the company basically can have full disclosure to the managers of what everybody else got. So they can give a manual to the managers and say, the reason why we want these changes is because in the sales departments, this is what is going on. In the customer service departments, this is what is going on. In the Department of Finance, this is what is going on, and so forth. So in managers that have never been involved directly with anything else because they're managers of just one area, they will be able to know the big picture and see everything. And maybe they're managers that they might think that the company is doing well, that the company is getting money, that it, that everything is okay. And then when they're able to see the big picture, then they realize that they're wrong, that their department is doing okay, but all the other departments are not. So the strategic plan helps to level the playing field, basically, to make sure that everybody is doing right. This basically is the end of chapter 3. Now that I provided all the information about strategic plan on change, I was wondering if you have any questions, if you wanted to share something with the company, something, I'm sorry, with us about your company, something that you have faced in your company, if you're going through this right now. Why do you think that is important for a company, or that companies believe that they have to do a strategic planning and changes and strategic modifications? Anybody wants to share anything? Okay, so we're very quiet today. So let's hope that you're staying in track and you're understanding basically all of this that I'm providing to you. If by any chance after all these presentations you have any questions about certain topics or certain information that I provide, please remember that you always can go back, email me, ask me questions. Remember that in the class I put an open forum for the students to share questions, documents, information, resources. So you can also put your questions there so everybody else will be able to see them, and will learn from all the experience, your questions, and the answers that I'm providing. Also, if you see that a student creates a question that you have experience about it, go ahead also and repeat. Remember that we're in a learning process, all of us together. So all of those things help us. So then we are going to start with a summary of what it is, chapter 4. Chapter 4 is everything that is now we're talking about what it is, the job analysis and the talent. What I like about the connection of chapter 3 and chapter 4 together, that when they put the book together, sometimes, the information doesn't really flow. I really like the way that they put the information of 3 and 4 together, because 4 goes completely into what it is, a strategic planning. That is what I was mentioning to you about it. Part of the job analysis, the job descriptions, the salary increase, the reviews of bonuses and additional services, the talent. Do we need more employees? Do we need to let go? Do we need to hire? All of that is really, really connected to the corporation changes that they're considering on doing. But in this case of chapter 4, the objectives more of this chapter is about reviewing what is talent, how as a manager we can analyze the skills of the employees, eh, how we're able to recognize the deficiencies of the employees in order to provide some type of support and training, Um, this goes also as well into what is the job analysis, because nowadays that we're moving more online, nowadays that we're moving more worldwide, nowadays that we have so many people working from home, then that is the time that help us to realize about all the jobs that we have in the workplace and the amount of employees that we have to determine what is needed and what is not, what needs to be changed or not. So, for example, let's say your company has a total, physically, I'm talking about facilities. Uh, the place that you work at has a building that is 5 floors. Each floor has 10 offices, and the offices are always full. And to maintain that building, you have to have a cleaning company, a crew of 4 employees that go twice a day to clean the building, clean the bathrooms, make sure that everything is okay. But now that we're transforming, and now that we decided that, let's say, half of the employees can work from home, then part of the job analysis is reduction of expenses and how we're transforming. So then we go into, wait a minute, do we need a building that has 5 floors? Can we do it with a building of three? Do we have that many offices? A do we have to pay for so much for electricity and water? Do we need a cleaning company with 4 employees twice a day? So if you're sending half of the employees home, working from home, all of that is part of the job analysis. Or if I'm allowing you to work from home, that means that you do no longer need an office here. So you have an office space with a desk, with a computer, with internet, with everything for that area, when actually nobody's there because the person is working from home. So in the long run, all of this helps, the company to establish some type of methodology that will help them, to say, okay, so I'm not gonna pay for the phone company system anymore in my company because now everybody is working from home. That means that everybody is using their cell phone, for example. So then you go into the aspect of, okay, if that is a job description, that is a job transformation, does it mean that not in the salary, not without, do I give a salary increase to the employee, or do I give him, for example, a bonus once a month that will help them to pay for the cell phone? Or do I just basically do a contract, for example, with AT&T? I have 20 employees, get 20 cell phones, get one bill, pay for everybody, give everybody their cell phones, and I'll take care of that. So you're reducing the cost of physical phones that you have on your desk when the person was working in that building, in that specific office that you assign, to cell phones, because nobody's going to a building and you don't need a building anymore. So all of those things is part of the job analysis as well, that it helps in the long run for the company to determine the revenue, how much I'm saving, or how much additional things I needed to do. For example, the if we use the example of the cell phone, let's say that a line, what they call a line phone, the regular phones that you have on your desk, and you have 20 employees, and the company was paying $5,000 a month to have those phones functioning. And the cell phones for the 20 employees, they went down to $2,000. Then basically in the long run, even though everybody still has a phone, the company is saving $3,000 a month. And because of that. So that helps the company to determine what they need to do, how they need to do it. And going back into what it is, the talent of the employees and connected to the strategic plan. Unfortunately, what? Unfortunately, there are duties that the department, that the employees have to be always there. Like, for example, if you're having a business and you have a building and you have offices, you might want to reduce the space, but you don't want to disappear, because disappearing from a building, disappearing of your site, then you go into a marketing approach. People are not seeing you. People think that you went out of business, so people don't contact your company anymore. So completely closing the building when the and that goes into like marketing psychology behavior. If people are used to drive back and forth for this avenue every day, every day, every day, and they always saw your company and they always saw your sign and they knew who you were as a company and what service do you do. If you get rid of the building completely, if you get rid of your sign completely, most of the people might think, oh, this company went out of business. So it is important not to disappearing completely from the face of the planet, that always keep people saying we are still here. So, for example, having a receptionist to always there, somebody to greet. The IT department is a department that is essential to be in the business, because if you have people working from home, you need somebody over there that's still taking care of the servers, make sure that everything runs, make sure that if somebody's having issues from home accessing the system, that you have always somebody over there and everything. So that goes into what it is, the talented management process of deciding who's good for what, who can trust, who can work from home, who can stay here at the building. Do I create a flexible schedule? That this mean that this flexible schedule I'm working from home, do I need to give additional training? Which departments actually can work from home and which departments actually need to be here? And how do I motivate employees that are working from home when I don't even see them anymore? And if you don't have a Zoom meeting, you don't even see the people faces. While when they went to the building, they have to go to the building every day. As a manager, you have to go to the building and you see the employees on a day-to-day basis. Employees stop by your office, say hi, say hello, ask questions. Now you don't have any of that. So all of that as a manager is what you have to think and say, you say, how do I maintain these people? How do I track these people? How do I provide this information to? So here, for example, uh, I use this as an example because I'm not sure if a lot of you guys know. Now, talking about apps and softwares and everything, for everything that you can imagine in a company, there are now apps that can help you do things and they can measure things. So, this is something that originally the presentation didn't have. So, I copy paste this picture and I actually provided the reference at the bottom. When we talk about talent management, um, there are actually applications and softwares that companies can have to keep track of the employees' functionings, what they do, the compensation base now that they're at home. How can we review a performance of an employee when we don't even see the employee anymore because the employee is at home? So all these different aspects of talent, how do we train an employee that doesn't even have to come to the building anymore? How do I know what other training they need? Maybe in this case, even the employees need more psychological support, let's say it that way. And now with the pandemic, that a lot of people have to be trapped in their house, psychologically, a lot of people got depressed. Not everybody uh, has this mindset. Like, for example, I don't mind working from home. I could be here at my house for an entire week without leaving my house, just go outside, walk the dogs, work for a little bit, do some exercise, and that's it. If I don't see anybody else, if I don't go anywhere, I'm fine. But a lot of people are not like that. That goes into the human, in the personal human behavior, the personality of the person. So companies have to be also very aware of that and say, oh, wait a minute, now this employee is at home working from home. Now they don't have a lunch break. Now we don't have a cafeteria when they go and take a little break and chat with other employees and see people. So as a managers, we're going to, how can we offer this additional service to the employees? How can we make sure that the employees are happy, that we're providing the resources? Do we need to do, for example, a Zoom meeting once a week? That is not a Zoom meeting from the department, but it's just a Zoom meeting where everybody talks freely. What do you need? How are you feeling? Are you depressed? Um Obtain services and outsources, for example, or counseling, that you tell the employees, hey, if you feel alone, if you feel that you're drowning, if you feel that, then contact this company. So a lot of companies, for example, the place where I work full time, we have a psychology department, and they have a counseling program, and they decided to create an special services for employees because a lot of people are trapped at home working from home. So the department motivated and say, hey, we're going to provide this type of counseling services for free. This is the phone number, this is the email, you can set up appointments with us. Let's talk about something different, let's motivate each other, let's see how you can help, the way that you don't get depressed, or you don't uh, get sad, or you don't feel isolated, all of that. So all that is part of the job analysis that we have to do, especially now that things are changing and transforming. So we go into the aspects of duties and skills. It's one thing that the person was in the building, now the person is working from home. Does this person needs some additional skills? That this person needs some additional duties because now the person is going to be working from home all alone. What kind of employee is? As a managers, we have to be very, very aware of what the employee needs. Their employees that literally do know what my building, my office, even in pandemic, never closed because only the first 6 months people were trapped at home. After that, they opened the building because they realized that people were driving themselves crazy. And even though they could work from home, there is still people that drive, have that mentality of driving to the building, having their office, having everything, because that's how they feel that they can work and that they are productive. So all of those resources are the ones that we need to make sure, and we go into what it is, the analysis of what I was mentioning to you, that is the connection within the activities that they have to perform in connection with the behavior. Are they getting depressed? Are they happy? Are they performing well? Are they falling behind because they're working from home and they're not going to the office anymore? All of that is what it helps us. What kind of resources they had at the office that they don't have at home? Here at the office, you had a printer. In your house, you don't have a printer. So can we give some portable equipment that the employee can take to the house and say, okay, or tell the employee, buy a printer, we will cover the expenses, or we are buying printers and will cheapen the printer to your house. Like, for example, my employer realized that now that we were working more from home, we needed a newer, better computer with better safety software and things like that. They revamped all the computers. And I got a box here in my house with a new computer, and I needed to put the old one in and chip it back, and that was it. So all of those things were thinking of how they can continue doing their perform their job well, even though physically they're not here. So in other words, what companies are realizing now is that from anywhere, if we have the equipment and the tools and the resources that we need to do our job, we're able to do it. So companies are realizing that they say, oh, maybe we don't need such a big building. Maybe we don't need to spend so much in air conditioner and electricity and in water and in this and in supplies, because they're saving money by keeping the employees working from home. So this goes into um, now we're talking about what about when those employees that are working from home, they still go and they leave and they find a job somewhere else, or we see the need of recurring somebody else. So now we're incorporating somebody that on top of that, that they don't know anything about the like the company setting, how the company works, the personality of everybody. Then basically we're bringing somebody new that they actually not seeing anybody because everybody's working from home. So you don't incorporate that employee the right way to the company because they're working from home like everybody else. So then you go into the aspect of how you're going to recruit. What is the good employee, this new employee that is going to be good for you, good in this new employee setting that you are offering. And then you go into how I do a performance appraisal for employees that are working from home and I don't longer see. And always constantly is if the employees need training, if the employees need training, how do we offer the training? So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger just to show you. This is what they're talking about the job analysis information. That is basically we as managers that we go and say, okay, if we need more employees, how we're going to do it, how the description is going to be, how do we select the employee. So all of this part right here, it helps us to determine that we as a human resources director, for example, we're changing the performance appraisal that we have. Maybe incorporate something regarding with events at the building or teamwork or something like that. So now we as managers say, wait a minute, this performance review doesn't work anymore. We have to remove these questions and we need to incorporate these questions because now the people are not here. So all of these things helps you to make sure that you are evaluating your employees fairly, that they are keeping track, you are keeping track, they are doing what they have to do, and that you know that they are doing it and doing it well. So communications and managers is very important. Like for example, my manager tries to have a meeting every 2 weeks with us as an individual employee. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Do you need anything? Are you okay and you're not okay? Or whatever, because of the fact that we don't even see each other. You know, I don't walk to my supervisor's office anymore to talk to him about X or Y Z that is going on or X or Y concern that I have. Now, sometimes I don't even call him. Now, I have sent an email and I have to wait until he replies. So, all of that is part of being aware as a manager to meet the needs of the employment. What we do, what analysis, what are the support, how we can verify that everything is okay, how we can do some specifications of job description changes and duty, how we can track the employees. If the employee is working from home, then how do I know that during the day the employee is doing what they need to be done? So all of that is not that we're going into the aspect of micromanagement and no letting the employee breathe because I need to know every minute of every day what you're doing because I don't see you. No, is that creating a balance and make sure that even though the employee is from home and that you're also from home as a manager, everybody's doing what they're supposed to. So this goes into the workload analysis. This is a recommendation of how you can consider, analyze the job that the employee was doing while they were in a new building, while they had an office, while everybody was together. And then you see if something like this, you can still apply it even though your employees are now working from home. Or if you think that there are things that you need to change, or there is when you go into creativity and say, okay, this is important for me, but how do I do it? For example, quality control. Quality control is important. What the employee is doing, how do I do it? Is it do it well? Is it not doing it well? But if the employee is from home, then you go and say, what aspect of quality control I need to change, or what do I need to consider? Is different doing a quality control when the employee is there and doing a quality control when the employee is not there and you're not even seeing it. So quality control is different. For example, giving you an example of when we were talking at the beginning in sales, you know that you have a company that you sell, everything is the purpose, sell, sell, sell. But you have two types of employees. You have employees that they do all the selling, but they do the selling over the phone, over the email, tracking the products, and they're there. And then you have this group of employees that they also do sales, but they're out there the whole day. They're visiting the different clients. They're offering new products to the clients and everything else. So then now you're talking about different aspects of quality control. How do I make sure that these employees that are here in the building do this? And how can I track these people that is all day out there somewhere doing whatever? And then you go and say, well, that whatever means that they are doing something directly from work, that they are started working at the right time, that they're not abusing in the lunch break, that they're taking 2 hour lunch instead of one just because they're there without supervision and nobody sees it. So all of that of this analogy of job work will help you to determine, and you can use it as a base. And you might even have different transformations of this depending of even of the duties of the employees. Like I was saying, you cannot supervise, you cannot support an employee that is all day out there that you don't see with someone that is like in the office next to your office. So sometimes there are managers that, for example, use this as a base example, but from there they transform the duties. They have more options, they have more integral aspects depending on what the employee is doing or where that does the employee, what do they do. But the whole idea, regardless of how you do the analysis, the key point is that is for you as a manager. And this is what I was telling you, that chapter 4 is really well connected to chapter 3, because now we're going to the re-engineering part as a manager. Like I was saying, now you have employees from home, now you have employees that are the whole day outside, now you have employees that have a flexible schedule. They go 2 days a week at the office and then 3 days they work from home. So all of that is when you go and you say, okay, so how do I redesign the work schedule? How do I keep everybody rotating happy? How do I enrich their knowledge and their skills and everything? So all of that is important for us as managers to consider. Is there anything that up to here do you guys want to share? Do you guys want to talk about it? Um, for example, if you have the need of boosting productivity in your workplace, how you have done it? Have you seen yourself like forced to maybe changing things or moving people around? Something that I added here that wasn't in the presentation, it was like this. Do we need, if part of boosting productivity is requiring considering, for example, things like technology, that I used the example of my employer with the computers. They send me a better computer with a VPN, with safety software, because now I was going to be using my internet and my internet is not as secure as the company internet. So all of that. What about the work schedule? The fact that you're working from home, do you need a different work schedule? Do you need flexibility? Uh, Anything like that that you want to share with the group? Okay. So let's move along, my friends. We're going into the aspect of collection information of analysis, of basically for a collection of information for job analysis and job data. That is basically three things that are very important to keep in mind when we're doing this. That is, if we need somebody that works with a team or not, if somebody can work alone from home, or even though the person, for example, that is at home will need some type of support once in a while from other employees. How we do all the process of supporting employees when everybody's spread out in different locations, and sometimes everybody's even spread out in different time zones. how we can create different alternatives that will help you to do that, that will help us to go into the analysis of this job. This part right here of the analysis incorporate the information of talking now about in the aspect of new employees. If we went through the analysis of employees, and this is not for new employees as well, but I was talking to you about it, is that if employees you have, because of the transformation and the strategic plan, you create new positions, new requirements, new needs, and then internal employees that you already have working, they're not interested in those positions because they will see it as a promotion, they will see it as an opportunity to get a salary increase, because they know the company culture, so they have this feeling that it might be easier for them to get that job than somebody from outside. So then basically we as manager goes into, what do we ask? What do we ask somebody from outside, and what do we ask somebody from inside? The fairness interview questions have to be a standard. You always have to ask the same thing to everybody across the board. But there's certain questions that you can incorporate in the interview that will help you to know if that internal employee that is applying for that job to try to get a promotion is the right candidate for the position, in comparison with a person that is applying for outside, and based on the job description they meet everything. So that's when you go into measuring the pros and cons. It's what is the benefit for me to promote this employee from within, to give this employee a salary increase. Can this employee really perform well this job? Is there anything that I need to learn from the applicants from outside to see if at the end I'm selecting the right candidate? So all of those things help you to determine, um, basically clarifying the duties and being very specific about it, so you can cover everything with detail, that the internal employee that is applying for the job, it is aware that is not applying it because they see it as an opportunity of, oh, I'm going to make more money, but that actually they can do the job. So for example, if you, because of the need, you are creating a job, uh, to assist the finance department. So you need somebody that is very good with numbers, maybe somebody that has an accounting degree or an economics degree or whatever. Then basically there's certain questions that you can ask that will help your internal employee to determine if he or she has the skills to get a job or not. Because if you put a degree in accounting, that's very easy. Ah, no, I don't have a degree in accounting, I cannot apply for the job. But if you don't do that, and somebody with a degree from accounting applies from outside, then basically those questions will help you. That it makes your life easier as a manager to determine if the internal employee that is applying for the job is the good fit for you or not. So part of those records of positions and matching positions and promotions and activities and hiring people from outside will help us to determine, like I say, which questions we're asking. What are questions? Remember when I say that all the questions have to be the same from everybody? It is like that. So as a managers, we have to review the information of the Department of Labor. What now you go into human resources, legal aspect of it, for example. What can I ask? How can I ask? What questions can I put? Because there's certain questions that the employee that is applying from within the company, the employee say, oh, wait a minute, this is actually a discrimination. You know that I don't have this skill, or you know that I don't have this. So you're basically me asking me these questions because that's how you're gonna get me out of the way to make sure that that's it. That you so basically you just don't want to give me the job. So since the beginning you should have told me that I shouldn't have applied, for example. So that's, as a manager, the drama and the legal aspect of the situation that we need to avoid. So we need to make sure that in a very subliminal way, let's say it that way, we're getting the answers that we need, but everything within the law. And a lot of employees, internal employees, for those questions, when you are doing the interview, a lot of people realize and say, hey, I applied, they gave me the opportunity, but really now talking to them about what they need, I don't have the skills, or I don't have the years of experience, or I don't have the education that I need. So those things like that helps you and protects you, legally protects you as a manager, a director of a department, or even director of human resources, that nobody goes and turn around and file a lawsuit or a complaint or anything like that. So this goes into what I was mentioning to you of the analysis of standard questions. You need to make sure that the questions that you ask, they're the same for everybody, meets all the requirements, regardless of where the person lives, regarding of sex, regarding of age, regarding on everything. So the questions, you strictly have to focus on what you need of the duties, that the person meets the requirements. And if that's how you're gonna do a process of elimination, you can go very picky about it, and you can be very specific. I want somebody that has a master's degree in business administration. I want somebody that has a certification in human resources or a certification in finance, for example. I really need somebody that has at least 5 years of experience, because it's dealing with this clientele that brings very high revenue to the company. Somebody that has really good skills, people skills, because then they're treating clients at another level. You can even go as far and say, oh, wait a minute, I'm going international. I'm doing a lot of business with Latin American countries. I do need somebody that speaks English and Spanish or whatever. Or I created an office in France and I do need somebody that speaks French, whatever it is. So you can go as details as you can. That's why when you're applying for jobs, that you see jobs online, you see sometimes that these job descriptions have 4 or 5 pages, and you're like, not everybody's going to do this. No, it doesn't mean that you have to know every single thing, but the company can use that to do a process of elimination, especially for one position, 20, 30, 40, 50 people apply. So those are the skills as a director, as a manager, or director of human resources. If we are in that sense, we need to be aware of that. What is the best way to write the job description? What are the questions that are crucial to us? And it is not a bad idea when you are writing about to go online and to look if there is any other jobs out there similar. For example, you say, I need a director of marketing. You can go out there and just look for jobs at director of marketing, and you can see the posting of these other companies, to see what the companies are asking, what the company thinks that is important for a director of marketing to have. So all of that, all of those other job descriptions help you to compare with yours, and you say, okay, I don't need this, I don't need this. Oh my God, I forgot about this. This is very important, like that. So all those examples will help you to create that specific job description, that regardless of who's applying, internal of internal, you know that you will try to get the best candidate for the job. So all of that of the job descriptions, and going back to the questions, everything has to match. If you look at it, the the main purpose, to be honest with you, is always to develop the job description first. What do I need? What do exactly do I need from these people? What the skill? So based on the job description, you can use the information of the job description to develop the questions that you want to ask. And there are some questions that you do not have to ask, because if you put it in the job description and the person submits a really good resume, you're going to be able to see it. Like something really logic, but just for you guys to have an idea. If you put in the job description that you want somebody with a master's degree, then immediately when you see their resume, you do a process of elimination for education. If there's people that apply just because hoping that maybe because they don't have a master's degree, maybe you call them, you do a process of elimination like that. Then basically you say, I need somebody that has 5 years of experience. You quickly can review the information of the different duties that they had and for how long. And you quickly will be able to see, oh, this person only has two. Oh, no, this person has never worked. Oh, this person has 10 years. So like that, you do a process of elimination. So it is important, for example, in the description always to consider key key points that are basically the education, the description of the department, the description of the duties. I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not. A lot of companies do not post the salary, and the reason why they do not post the salary is because sometimes the company has a good budget and they have a salary range. So they say, okay, this position, human resources say, oh, this position of director of marketing, uh, we can pay between $50,000 a year and $70,000 a year. So a lot of companies don't do that because a company say, okay, so we have $20,000 to play with. Let's see. We make an offer. We see, and maybe the person gets a little bit more than what we were thinking. But but in a sense, sometimes this affects the companies a lot because when people apply that has excellent experience, has been in the field for a lot of years, maybe somebody that is planning to ask for $95,000. I am worth $95,000. I have this skills and that skills and this license and that license. So you are spending time doing interviews. You are doing all this process of hiring. And then at the end, when you go and tell the person, oh, we're going to give you 75,000, then the person is going to say, no, I will start at 95 or 100,000 and that's it. So all this process that you did or interview and elimination, then you lost it. All that time, all the money, you lost it because you have to start. So sometimes it's better and recommended to always put a salary range because of that reason. So ahead of time, especially the people that are at this level with many years of experience, then the person realize if it is worth it applying for the job or not. Because you're being honest and upfront, you're telling them, I cannot give you more than $85,000. So the person knows basically what to expect. So here in what it is, the job summary, it is important to consider all of that. What do we want the person to say? We can even do an introduction about the salary and the duties. And then you will be able to see, okay, is it worth it for me to provide this information or not? It is very important to provide a summary of the position. This is what I want, this is what I don't want, this is what the company is. Provide a little bit of information about who you are. Such and such Johnson and Johnson company was founded in 1994 or whatever, and provide a little bit of who you are and what you're looking for and what you do. That as well is like you are presenting a little bit of the company culture to all these people. And then the people will realize and the people say, I don't think I will be happy here. I don't like what this company does. I'm not going to apply. So they're saving time and you are saving time. So sometimes this goes into where we're talking about no relationships. If an internal employee is applying for a position, you have to treat that employee the same way that everybody else. Actually, if one of your employees is applying for the job and you're part of the interview committee, ideally, when that employee is going to be interviewed, you shouldn't be there because you cannot be biased and you cannot influence the outcome of the interview. And that is very important. If it is an employee that you're not part of the interview committee, and after the employee, the manager, for example, of sales, called you, the manager of customer service, hey, I just interviewed such and such, give me your recommendation as a standard regular recommendation. Yes, you can do it, but you just have to be careful not to be biased about um, what you're doing with that position, and always consider what is the internal process and what is the external process. Did any of you have any question whatsoever about everything that we reviewed today? Anything that you want me to cover, any answers, any questions, or anything like that? Nothing at all. Okay. So
Yeah, nothing
basically,
much.
not at all. That's good. For
Yeah.
chapter 4, we are missing a little bit of the presentation, not a lot actually, but the fact that we had a little bit of technical issues at the beginning to connect, and I didn't start it. I think it's already 11, which is supposed to be like an hour and a half, 2 hours of presentation. So if you don't mind and you believe that is okay, we can basically stop today's class right now. And basically, the very few information that we're missing from chapter 4, I will share it with you guys next week. That it will be the end of chapter 4 and chapter 5 as well. Do you have any questions, or do you want me to continue a little bit longer? Because I know we started a little bit later what we were supposed to, so I just want to make sure that everybody's okay and everybody feels comfortable with the time. Because I know you're in different location and we have different time zones, so that's what I'm asking.
Thank you, ma'am. I have a question about the book.
Yes.
Since we do not have the copy of the book, so should we only focus on the slides and the presentation that you will provide to us?
No, but the information of the book is in the classroom under announcements. If you go to the class and you see the announcements, um, if you want me to stop the presentation, give me 1 second. Let me stop recording and I can share. No, you know what? No, stop recording, because just in case any of the other classmates might have a question about this as well. Give me 1 second. Let me go into the classroom and I'll share that page. And actually, this will stay in the presentation as well, so anybody can see that. One second, let me close this presentation and close this presentation. Close this, close this. Do you see that screen? That's the main page of the class. Mansoor, are you seeing that screen? The main page of the course?
Um, uh, During the class, I had trouble.
No, that
This
I stopped sharing and I went into the class website and I'm sharing right now. Do you see the screen of the
No,
main
unfortunately.
coursework that say professional in
I
human
think
resources?
I think there is an issue with the screen with my side. I don't know why I'm not seeing it.
Okay. Does anybody else can confirm that they're seeing this screen?
I can confirm I'm seeing it clearly.
Good, because excellent, thank you. Because like that, maybe if you're having problems with the screen, you can see what I'm trying to show you then later on in the video. But what I was trying to show you is in the classroom, when you go to the main classroom, you're gonna see that at the beginning you have all the introduction of the course, what we call like the main announcements. I put the welcome, I put a little bit of my background, like a summary of autobiography. And I have information about the course right here where it says course material. So when you open that, you're gonna see the information of the book. That is the book that you need to get. I put all the information of the description with the 16 edition, and I actually even put a cover page of the book. So when you go online and you look for the book, you know which one is it. And then what I did at the bottom is I provided the link that will take you to the Pearson website where you find the information of the book. So, like that, what I did is to make sure it doesn't mean that you have to buy it through Pearson, but if you go to Pearson first, you'll see if they have, for example, an electronic copy or they have the services of renting the book, just in case maybe you don't want to buy it. But if by any chance you go to Amazon or to Google or to any other website, then that's what I put the information of the book there with the name of the person that wrote the book, the editing, everything, and a copy of the cover page of the book. Because this person, Dr. Gary Dessler, he's actually a professor of a university here in Florida International University. He's a professor in human resources over there. He has actually published this book. I believe it's in 3 or 4 different occasions, and he has always like modified it and revised it. This is the edition of his version of 2019 of the book, which is the 16 edition. So all this little information there helps you to see everything else. I don't know if you have the opportunity to review the other announcements, but all the other announcements, I created a calendar for you guys that you can download it with the information of the weeks, the specific days, when the assignments are due. So this is a document that you can download and save it in your computer. We're basically working with Adobe APA 7 edition. Remember that we are in the first term of the class. This is a program that is around 2 years. I do recommend the students to buy the student edition of the APA 7 format. And also, if you're not very good in APA, there is actually companies out there that sell like a small software that you can install. There are some drivers that will install with Microsoft Word. And then basically when you're writing, Microsoft Word helps you to keep track of the references and the titles and all of that. But what I did with APA is I provided an example paper. It's an example student base. It shows you a little bit of information of the titles, what you do. This is a complete paper assignments for everybody. But for example, the assignments that are designed in human resources, you do not need to write an abstract. But this is a complete uh, example paper. So that's what it has it. But for us that we're working with cases, that we're working with questions, answering questions and things like that, you really don't need to provide an abstract. And then here it gives you information, a little bit of information on how you write the paper, the references, how you provide citations, how you put the titles, all of that. So this is a good document that maybe you can download and keep. um, Now, there are a lot of universities that have provide information, free resources out there for APA. Out of all the ones that I have used before, I noticed that Purdue University has the best. So I provided the link if you wanted to use them and you have to and you want to browse it and see what information they have. They have little examples, very clear examples about references and how you put the titles if you want to in any of your assignments incorporate a table or a graphic or whatever. So they go through all of that. I created a folder because I know you guys in different time zone, different services, different all of this. So I created a folder in Google Drive with some other information and resources. So I provided the link just in case you want to go in and look at it. And here, this is what I was talking about the beginning of the general forum. This is the general forum that I created for the class. Here is anybody has a question relevant to the book, relevant to the assignment, or anything posted here. You can use this space to chat with your classmates. You can use this space to establish contact with your classmates and create an study group. If you want to do an assignment in Teams, if you want to do a presentation in Teams, this is the way that you can connect with everybody else. Also here, when you are doing assignments and you come across a really good article or a presentation or even a YouTube video or TED or whatever, you can go in here and share that and say, hey, I found this information about employee training that I thought that it was important for you to know, and you just upload the file or provide the link. So this is additional resources that will help all of us, including me, to learn, because so many people publish so many things all the time and there is so much information out there that this general forum helps you to do that, to like share all of that information. Regarding the presentations that you're talking about, when you go to the questions that say the days and you see the day, I'm keeping all the information there. You see the forum, you see the assignment, and you see the presentation of chapter 1 and chapter 2. For example, the presentation that we're covering this week, that is the week from January, all of that, everything is there. So you will be able to see all of that ahead of time and review it. Remember that our weeks start ahead of time. So we're not working in these presentations at the end. We're actually working these presentations at the beginning. Today is the first day of the third week of the class. The week goes from January 29 to February 4th. So the first day of the week, basically what I do is I do the presentation or whatever we are going to review that week. So you have an idea ahead of time, what are your readings are going to be about it, what are your assignments are going to be about it. So when you go and you look on your book and you look for articles, you have that information of additional resources. And the presentation that I covered on that day that I covered today, I always put it there. This presentation, like I say, will stop a little bit, not all the way. We're not covering the whole chapter 4 because of timing. I will finish it next week, but at least the official presentation that I was going to show you guys today is there. So that's what I do with every day of the week. So once you start navigating this class, and you access the announcements and you download all of this, if you think that there is something important to add to the class that I'm missing, any recommendations, email me and say, hey, you should pull this or you should do that or should do it. I will happily add it the way that whatever you recommend, maybe somebody else is thinking about it. So you will have that opportunity as well. So if you want to work ahead, download the information of the assignments. Like I say, the rest of the weeks, I have very few weeks with assignments. I'm going to finish with the week everything. So by next week, you have all the information for the rest until the end of April. So if you want to advance in some assignments or in some readings, if you have an opportunity to do that and you have the time, then you also, of course, will be able to do it. Even though the classes have a specific time and say the assignment is due whatever day, the assignments, the way that I'm posting them, they're always open. So if you want to advance in a week and post in your forum, you will have access to that and you will be able to do it. So now that I can like show you this, and actually it stays in the recording also of the class, I think some of the students that did not attend, if they have any questions, they will have a little bit of an idea of how the class is structured and what information do you see. Do you have any questions about this? Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So we submitted our week 2 assignment. Can you tell us about the grading? When will you grade the assignments?
The grading is actually there. As soon as I read the assignments, I grade. And if you want ahead of time to know the grading complete, all you need to do is to download the PDF file that I provided to you with course assignments, due dates, and summaries. If you see
Yes.
that, the last column of the document has the points and it shows you the maximum value of the assignments. So everything
It's 3
in
points,
that
I guess.
PDF file that you download, you will see the whole calendar with the information on the books and the value of each of the assignments. Everything is there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Any other question anybody might have?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Please, in line with what you just explained as regards this portal, please, I want to personally inform you that due to some little issue in my office, I went to my rural area and I was not connected to the internet. I was unable to submit that assignment. I want to plead if there is another window for me to submit in the next 2 days.
To submit which assignment, I'm sorry?
Yes, the assignment we're supposed to submit on the due date of 28th, I guess so.
You can submit the assignments anytime. I'm gonna check again to see maybe one of the assignments that I posted, it has a different day. And if it has a different day, I will change it. But the idea is that I'm gonna leave the assignments open. So if by any chance you guys had any issue with the assignment and you need to upload it a little bit late, you're gonna have the opportunity to do. So what I'm gonna go as soon as we finish, I'm gonna go back and review the dates, because when we set up this assignment, like for example, right here that you see that it says Friday the 29th, I'm gonna see if even though it says due Friday the 29th, that the system left the date for additional days, so you can upload it as well. So I will check that as soon as we finish as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
And
Any
Thank you very much for the clarification, ma. Really appreciate.
No, my pleasure. And if you have any other questions about the structure, the presentation, or information, let me know. Regarding the book, like I say, remember, go out there.
Okay.
The purpose is that you learn, but that the purpose also is know that you spend a lot of money doing all of this. There is a lot of people, there's a lot of corporations, I'm sorry, that they're now renting books. I actually, through my time, I have rented books through Amazon, and I just rented, provide the days I need the book from this day to this day, and I rented it, and that's it. So it is an ebook. You have full access to the book right there in the computer at all time. But if I apologize, I really don't know how much person is selling the book for, but also renting the book or looking for a used book is always beneficial. You always send a little bit of money that way. So take a look at it to see maybe you'll find that information as well.
so can we talk to the student affairs if they can provide us the book?
They can put what? I'm sorry.
If they can provide us the book, the HR
Eh,
codes, student affairs
So it
of
would
the
be
university.
buying it. What you're saying it is buying it through the university. I can ask them that as well. I didn't know if that was an option, so that's what I provided the information here on the website. And like I say, if you go right there where it says course material and you access the website, the web link that I provided for Pearson, it takes you directly to the person website directly of the book. And it gives you the information if you are a student or if you are a professor. And if you take is that I'm not sure if you have had already the time to access this website for you to see it. But Pearson, for example, when you go to the website, you access the link that I provided to you. It gives you information about the different resources that they have the book. They have the book as a digital book with a code that you can just go and click on it and access, and automatically you just download it. So they are providing different accesses. So I guess the university, I don't know if students affairs will get involved, because like I say, all you have to do is to click on the link that I provided. So the same information that they will give you that way is on the page that I provided. For me personally, the best thing that you can do is to click where it says the digital access. You click on it, they give you a code, you put the code, and right there you have access to the book. But I'm not sure if you have had so far the opportunity of going to the website and reviewing that information.
I'll check that out. Thank you.
Uh-huh. And then if it doesn't work for you, like with the link that I'm providing right there on the class, then let me know and I'll ask the employees of the student affairs office. But like I say, once you go on it, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. Anybody else has any other questions before we close for today? Anything else that I can share? Any other questions that I can answer?
As of now, nothing.
Okay, so then we're
Yeah.
basically done for today with the presentation of week 3. Like I say, we covered all chapter 3, almost the entire chapter 4. Chapter 4, what we're missing is not that much, so I can put it in complement of next week. So we will review the part of chapter 4 and chapter 5. However, like I say, the presentation, today's presentation is on the website. I posted it already, and it has the complete presentation and summary of chapter 3 and the complete presentation and summary of chapter 4 as well. So if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to stop recording now.